over here, man, with solid X state, you know. I tell you what, man, we live in a time, man, that is rife, man, that is boiling over with division. You know, people align themselves with the ideas with which they think, you know, reality is brought into focus, and yet we are ever so more, you know, boiling over in factions, you know, fomenting, if you will, in factions. You know, and how is it, one must wonder, that we are in such disagreement as regards the merits of our ideas? You know, it's as though that none of these things have been tried before. You know, and yet the reality is, man, that the last 200 years have really been, man, a kind of proving ground for the ideas with which we have been toying with. A proving ground, if you will, to hold such ideas to the fire and prove their merits. The 19th and 20th century are deeply contemplative case studies for the issues of society with which we struggle. The events of these time periods are kind of a proof of concept as regards the fundamental issues at hand. You know, and what are we talking about, man? We are talking about, you know, communism. We are talking about Marxism. We are talking about fascism. You know, we are talking about nationalism. We are talking about capitalism. We are talking about racism and equity. We are talking about welfare. We are talking about all of these issues that have made it to, that have been, if you will, rolled out in the classroom time and time again, discussed on the chalkboard, and yet they have been, their merits, their potential, their attributes, their qualities have been tested in real life, man. And the last 200 years, man, has gone to great lengths to prove what these things are. It is not a matter of subjection. It is not a matter of your opinion as regards the merits of a thing, for what they are and their attributes have been shown to be. In the book of Ecclesiastes, man, in the Bible, chapter 1, in verse 9, it says, "That which has been is that which will be, and that which has been done is that which will be done. There is nothing new under the sun." These things that divide us have been, you know, these things have had their time, if you will, in the light of day. You know, nothing has been, you know, brewing in darkness, if you will. For the reality, for the truth of these things have been discovered time and time again. And history has documented, history has been the narrator, if you will, the recorder of reality. History has been the recorder of reality. You know, and as to the point of this video, the issue at hand that I would like to discuss is, you know, racism, because we hear so much about it in our society. We hear of white supremacy. We hear of who, if you will, is guilty of racism in our country. You know, in amongst our nations, amongst our peoples. You know, racism is often brought up as a matter of conflict. People are accused of being racists, you know, but do we understand, maybe, you know, let us, if you will, renew our understanding. Let us, if you will, remember history. Let us, if you will, you know, revisit, you know, where has racism found its legs? You know, to what effect has racism been borne up and implemented in our societies? And you might find it surprising what I'm about to tell you. But every segregation law in the South was penned and passed by a Democratic legislature and signed into law by Democratic governors and enforced by Democratic sheriffs and Democratic mayors. White supremacy, therefore, in the United States has always rode on the backs of the Democratic Party. You know, that is history. And what you will find in this is that it is not the South that is the protagonists of racism and segregation. It is not even the nation, the United States as a nation, that is guilty of the sins of racism. You know, we have been told by our leadership from time to time that racism is in our DNA, but that's not true. You know, we fought a war in this country, a civil war, to restore the dignity of black men and women in our country, to achieve for them, man, the rightful place in our society, sharing therein with us the rights endued by our Creator, inalienable rights, right? We fought a war over this, so I don't think that racism is in our DNA. And if racism is in anyone's DNA, it is in the DNA of the Democratic Party. And but people will say, yeah, but the Democrats have changed, man. The Democrats are the advocates for the marginalized. The Democrats are the advocates for the poor, for the working class. The Democrats champion the cause champion the cause of the poor, champion the cause of the marginalized, champion the cause of those who are being persecuted for their race. Are they really? But are they really? Because it seems to me that the only thing that the Democrats are ultimately interested in is majority. Because it seems like wherever they really get their way, they take over hook, line, and sinker. That seems to be their ultimate agenda. It isn't to defend, because look at Chicago. If the Democrats were so interested in the rights of the marginalized peoples, why is Chicago such a dive? The only thing that I can see that the Democrats seem to be concerned about is a supremacy of governance wherever it is they can get their foot in the door. Look at California. The one thing the Democrats have achieved is majority rule. Everything else, man, is a freaking, it's a shit show. Everything else. You know, who are they going to blame for it? Who are they going to blame because they have a supremacy in governance? There's no one standing in their way telling them what they can and cannot do. And yet, man, when everything is in their favor, man, when the credit card is in their hands with unlimited spending, they still can't get it done. So it seems to me that what the Democrats are interested in is majority rule. They're interested in majority rule. They're not interested in the rights of individuals. They're not interested in liberalism. They're interested in championing their own cause, which ultimately is themselves, their own position of supremacy. And what does that sound like? Does that not sound like the segregationist motivations of the 1920s, the 1910s, the 1880s, the 1840s, the idea of a divided society where one group is in charge and the other group is subject? Here again, all these years later, it seems that what the Democrats are ultimately interested in is dividing us as a people, continuing to obsess over the color of our skin, continuing to identify us with the color of our skin and not the character, man, of our heart. That is a piece of history. That is a piece of history. Yeah, man. God bless. Take care. Love you guys. See you next time.